Hello, everyone. It's time for my RPG show, I guess. It's been a little bit. It's October. Things are getting a little bit cooler if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. The days are getting a little bit shorter. It's getting kind of spooky out. So we've got something really good and on theme for you today. But first, just a couple of announcements for everybody. First and foremost, the thing that everybody's been thinking about. AGDQ 2023 online is going to be January 8th through the 15th. Head on over to gamesdonequick.com for more info on that. The games list for the first submission period comes out today. I'm excited. Just about everybody that I know is excited. It's gonna be so good. The second submission period, the submission period for games that were released after September 1st of this year, is coming up as well. It's going to be November 6th through the 12th. So make sure that you keep an eye on gamesdonequick.com if you're interested in that. Fright Fatales is coming up. It's a one-day event. It starts tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. So basically, if you go to sleep for exactly 24 hours from now, but don't do that, take a nap after this show, you're going to wake up just in time for Fright Fatales. We're celebrating the spooky season with dark, scary, horror-themed speedruns from the Frame Fatales community. Use !fright in Twitch chat to see the schedule. October 31st, we have a Halloween Spooktacular hosted by Ecdysis and Smooth Operative. It's going to be great. You will not want to miss that. If you want to follow what Games Done Quick is up to, use links in chat for all things GDQ. There's a ton of stuff going on all over the web. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you check that out. Your subs, your Prime Gaming subs, your gift subs, and All Bits Cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick, both with Hotfix and with AGDQ 2023 costs. So please consider subscribing, cheering, etc. if you enjoy this content. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel. That's free. And then come on over to twitch.tv/gamesdonequick if you're interested in watching us live. We have something almost every single weeknight starting at 7 p.m. Eastern and just about every day, every weekend starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss it. But speaking of things that I don't want to miss, Scarlett, you're going to show us Koudelka.
Yes, I am. Okay. This is early for me. So yes, this is Koudelka. It is one of the rarer PS1 games. I'm kind of known at this point for being the person who plays all of the games no one else has ever run. But before I start, the first thing that you do is you make sure that your configuration settings are correct. Now, this can be whatever you personally want, and I just completely flipped that. Because the configuration settings reset every time you reset the game, which is annoying, so you just have to get into the habit of first thing you do, open up your configuration settings. This is what I have it set as. At least it's a PS1 game that actually has button remapping, but we're going to get right into it. Time's going to start as soon as I hit the new game. In 3, 2, 1, click. Okay. So Koudelka is a strange game. It's from that very weird brand of horror RPGs, or horror JRPGs specifically. Now it throws us directly into a fight, and we're just going to button mash our way through it. It is faster to skip the move section. So the game sort of runs in a kind of quasi-strategy JRPG way, where you have an action phase and a move phase. We almost never use the move phase because moving is slow, unless we need to use it to get closer to a character or to get closer to an enemy. So for now, I'm just spamming the attack button because our character here, Koudelka, is automatically equipped with the gun, and it's more powerful and more worth it than using the magic for this fight. So the fight's already over. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than RPGs that you see normally. Darn it. The best drop that you can get there is a panacea. So one thing to know about this game is everything is randomized and the game hates you. Literally everything. Every equipment, armor, item drop, and weapon is randomized in its stats, its elemental weakness, or its elemental strengths, if it has any. And because of that, there is technically a reset point 5 minutes into the run, and I do have a safety save just in case. And I'm also going to do a little bit of a safety strat also, just in case. Yes, I'm playing this on a PS2 because it is faster due to the fast disc speed option. Because this game is about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, at least when you're learning it. You can beat it in less than an hour and a half, but because the game is so RNG heavy, it's one of the reasons why I'm not higher up in the rankings that I am, is because I don't have the time to grind this game out. Case in point, there being a reset point due to RNG on weapon elemental types in about 2 minutes. I'm going to pick this up for safety, just in case. Normally you wouldn't pick up this little knife here, but just in case to give me a third weapon. Because what you need is you need at least one weapon that doesn't have the mystic, light, and I think there's one other, elemental types. If all of your weapons have elemental types that are not viable for the early game, you have to reset. And I do have a safety save just in case. So we're going to check. Oh my god, that's actually really good RNG. Okay. We're going to just... There we go. And onwards. So anytime you see something in the bottom of the screen that says something's not right, that means you're in a boss room. Which, first boss of the game. Now, the reason why I push my characters forward up in the strategy battle arena little formation thing is just to make it shorter for them to run up. Because you want to run up to the boss in order to get them to use the attacks you want them to use. Because you don't want them using magic as much as possible, you want them using physical attacks. Specifically on Edward, which is why he's directly in front of the boss like this. Now, the fact that I got a fire hammer is really good, because this guy is weak to fire. So, one of the things in this game is, so much of it is balancing elemental weaknesses and strengths. So, pretty much every boss, sort of, has an elemental weakness. This guy's is fire, some other ones are, well, that's not very nice. I think I got one more hit on this guy, then I'll explain the elemental stuff, just so I can focus a little bit. Alright, should be good. Yeah, I'm good. So the elements in this game are... You got your classic 4. Fire, water, air, and earth. That's the first boss. I'm going to... Okay, I want to do 2 int and 2 agility. There we go. I meant to do dex there. Oops. It's fine. Okay. So yeah, this game has a point buy system for its level ups, which I'm not entirely sure if it has been 100% verified that this is the fastest way to do the level ups, but that is something that I have been testing in my own spare time, what little of it that I have. So we just got the third member of our party, James. You only ever have the 3 members. You have Koudelka, who is a Romani, she's described as a Romani medium in the game. She came to this monastery because a voice in her head would not leave her alone and kept telling her to do so. Edward came to the monastery because he wants adventure. And James came to the monastery because, as far as we know at this point in the game, because he's a priest and is bringing the fear of God to the denizens of the demonic monastery. That's not why he's actually here, but we'll find out more about that later. Because, of course, one of your characters has to have a secret mission. And so far in the game, all of the characters have just gone, wow, we are now sort of trapped in this spooky monastery. Let's figure out what's going on, even though we're getting attacked by demons the whole time. There we go. I'm going to pick up this little dirk here. That's going to be useful for a fight later on, mostly because of the stats it gives to Koudelka specifically. Oh yes, and I see that there's many mentions of my rabbits going on in chat. Yes, as usual. They are here. They will always be here when I stream. The gray one is Garrus, the white one is Tally, and they're very cute. I made sure to put their lettuce directly in the camera. Now, this strat that I'm using here is a little bit new. It was developed just a couple months ago. Usually you would want to force 2 fights in order to force a level up on James to give him more agility for the next fight. In the current strategy, you don't do that, and you do the next boss fight in a different way. And boss fight. So, for those who are in the know, I am kind of sad that I'm not going to be able to show you guys the amazing cutscenes in this game. This game is one of the few games of the PS1 that is entirely motion captured. And the cutscenes themselves don't really have like camera angle changes, so all you get is the characters acting out, and the voice actors who also provided the mocap for all of the characters doing some really, really good voice acting. Of any PS1 game, and really any game that I've played, this game probably has some of the best voice acting I've ever heard. Oop. You have to be very careful in these fights not to accidentally misclick, especially when you're using the spells. Because when you use the magic, your character starts casting the magic, and then like a turn or two later, they'll actually cast the magic. Which, if you end up misclicking on a magic attack, it cannot end well sometimes. Now, ideally, I hope I didn't get silenced, so those attacks that hit Koudelka just then can silence her. In the early game, getting silenced is really bad. Yeah, Koudelka got silenced, okay. It's not so bad in this fight, it's mostly the next fight that getting silenced can be bad. Hopefully I don't get silenced in the next fight, but yeah, all I'm doing is skipping the other 2 characters' turns as they've cast Dex on Edward. The new strategy abuses the Fortify system. So if you use a Fortify spell on an ally, it buffs that stat. If you use the Fortify spell on an enemy, it decreases that stat. And it was relatively recently found that you can do this section of the game much faster if you, instead of using both James and Edward to kill the boss here, you use just Edward and just pour all of your stuff into him. Oh, see, I almost messed up there through button mashing. There we go. Yeah, that's less than ideal because I'm using a less than ideal weapon, but because I don't have an earth weapon, which I believe it's earth. Yeah, it's earth. This enemy with the green eye is weak to earth magic. The red eye is weak to water magic, and the blue eye was weak to fire magic. And because I'm not using a weapon that it is weak to, it takes longer. So like the blue water boss thing, I can't remember what these guys are called, I just call them RGB. Since I have the fire hammer, I was able to kill him in 1 hit, but it's taking a touch longer for this guy. There we go. There's number 2. Fortunately for the rest of this fight, Koudelka and James are useless, so now that I think about it, I'm going to save myself a little bit of time later. Come on, there we go. So I'm actually going to switch weapons here, because it's not going to end well for me if I'm trying to hit the guy who's strong to fire with the fire weapon. Thankfully, I don't, at least for the most part, they usually don't gain health from doing that, but it just won't do a lot of damage. Edward's getting a little low on health, which is less than ideal, but... Yep. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure James is gonna, or I'm sure Edward's gonna be fine. Okay, it should only take one more hit to kill this guy. Now, for some reason, the fire boss has twice the health of the other two. So if you don't have a water elemental weapon, it can take a fair bit of time to actually take him out. Alrighty. Okay. I just got nudged in the ankle by a rat. Honey, I'm kind of playing a game right now. Okay. Now, I think I got high listals in as a drop in a fight, so I didn't technically need to pick that up, but... Okay, so I'm going to equip the ring on Koudelka. I'm going to make sure that everybody's healed. Yeah, I did have a high listal. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go straight to the next boss fight. So this is just run to the next boss fight, skip all of the random battles. The only time where you don't skip a random battle is if you are if you're learning the run, there is one specific room where you'll do a bit of grinding that I'll show you guys, because I'm planning on playing this game very safe, because this game can be a little dicey if you don't. So this is the next boss. It's a Ghost Bride. All you do with Ghost Bride is you run up to her and you hit her with tornado spells, which is your wind-based magic. Excuse you. There we go. Okay. Can never remember. Yeah. So I'm going to do a hit with Edward there just because I'm not entirely sure what Koudelka's stats even are, because again, everything is randomized. All of your stat bonuses are randomized, so I don't know how much damage she's going to do. Okay. Yeah, it was a good thing that I hit with Edward, because ideally you'd be able to kill the Ghost Bride in 2 hits from Koudelka, but she's not doing enough damage. And this attack here could silence her, which is a time loss of 1 to 2 minutes. And the reason why it is a time loss is you either, in this case, I'm using Edward to attack instead of using Koudelka to attack, and Edward is just your meat shield. He spends the entire game just being your meat shield, outside of one specific moment. There we go. Now Koudelka can actually attack. There we go. So what you have to do is, if you have an air elemental weapon on Edward, you can take out the boss with Edward if Koudelka gets silenced. Otherwise, you have to just keep skipping turns until the silence wears off. Which is why this fight can lose you up to a minute. There we go. We got the ring! Yay! Now I'm going to immediately open this again. And the number of times I've forgotten to do this during a run is too high. You need to pick up that rope for the next immediate section of the game. Alright, skipping that because we don't get to watch cutscenes. Cutscenes are slow. You immediately use the rope ladder, immediately go down the rope ladder. Now, because the random battles in this game are technically based off of a step system, you can sort of game that system to get the fights in specific areas. You're only going to see me really do that in one room, because I did mention that you do run away from all fights. That's not necessarily true. If you ever get into a random fight with an enemy called Mars or an enemy called the Black Cat, you do those fights, because the potential benefit of a random drop from those fights is far too great. The Black Cat can drop excuse me, Koudelka. There we go. The Black Cat can drop an item called the Cat's Eye, which is, at least in the North American version, the most powerful weapon for a mage character. So you can put it on Koudelka and then just have no trouble for the rest of the game. And the Mars enemy. Oh, nope, don't heal. Casting Flare on Edward. Okay, what was I saying? Right, the Mars enemy can drop an item called Scroll, and there is a specific boss in the late game called Apostle, which either takes 60 seconds or 10 minutes. Because it's probably the one part of this game that I can understand why some people wouldn't want to run it. Just because of Apostle. But I'll talk more about Apostle when we get nearer to that, which is towards the end of Disc 3, I believe. Telly! I quite like the music in this game. There's not a lot of it. Most of the music in this game is ambient background tracks, but I do quite enjoy it. Oh, that's bad. I'm gonna focus here for a second. I wasn't expecting Koudelka to take that much damage. She usually doesn't. Great, okay. It's fine. I have never been so glad that a magic attack hits Edward. Okay, normally you never have to worry about Koudelka getting hit with magic enough to kill her, but sometimes Koudelka giveth and Koudelka taketh away. There we go. Yeah, because normally magic does barely anything to either James or Koudelka because their piety stat is so high. I think it's the piety stat, yeah. Now, one thing that I could do in order to do more damage here, and I'm not doing just for safety reasons, which is one reason why this fight's taking longer than it normally does, is I'm keeping Koudelka further back. One thing that... Poor James is just so useless in this fight. One thing about this game that is something to keep in mind is how much damage you do is based off of 1, your stats, 2, what weapons you have equipped, and 3, how far you are from the character. And for some reason that counts for magic as well. So even with magic, you want to have your magic casters as far up as is safe. but I'm purposely elongating this fight a touch just because these early game fights can be a little dangerous. And I want to make sure that we don't have Koudelka sitting at a nice, lovely 4 HP again. Also, I don't think I'm getting the best RNG when it comes to drop stuff. Hopefully that fixes itself later. And that is the Doppelganger's boss. And by the way, we're at the end of this one. Yeah, despite the fact that this game is... There we go. Despite the fact that this game is only an hour and a half long, and I'm saving here just for safety's sake. Normally you would not save during a Koudelka run, obviously. But, you know, you gotta... Sometimes you just gotta do the thing. Okay. I'm just gonna... There we go. And cutscene. Now, there are two types of save points in this game. You have temporary save points and permanent save points. Temporary save points is kind of a misnomer. You can only have one of them at a time. But there are much more of them. So you'll just enter a room and it will say S at the bottom of the screen, along with the name of the area. That means it is a temporary save spot and you can save. What I just did at the fountain there, that's called a permanent save point. Now, the biggest difference between a temporary and a permanent save point in Koudelka is something that you're not going to see during a speedrun because we don't play the game for long enough. So this game has a weird mechanic that if you save at a permanent save point at specific times on the in-game timer, you can get special items. Man with gun. Oh, I see somebody in the chat has mentioned man with gun. So this game has a very fun mechanic that, again, you don't see during a speedrun, but would definitely be a fun thing to do in a charity run for incentives. But you can name every single item in the game that's not a key item. So every piece of equipment, every piece of armor, every weapon, every usable item, anything that is not considered a key item can be renamed at any time and as many times as you want from the menu. And every time that item appears again, it will have that name. So you can rename a potion to hamburger, and every time you get a potion in a random drop or from picking it up in the field any other time, it'll be called a hamburger. Why did they put that in this game? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, but yeah, I'm definitely not getting the best drops in this. Because normally I would be able to take out this enemy in 2 hits, or 2 hits plus 1 from Edward. That's not happening, so that means I am getting the bad RNG when it comes to my weapon and item stat drops. And that's the reason why my estimate is so large. Even though you can beat this game, like I said, in less than an hour and a half, that's if you have the best RNG. Yeah. Woo, I got a rifle. I'm never going to use that. So some interesting region differences in this game. The easiest region is actually the PAL region. The hardest version of the game is definitely the Japanese version. So for some reason, the Japanese version of this game is a lot more difficult in terms of how much damage enemies can do, stats, just the difficulty of the game is upped. However, you do have access to a couple, or maybe just the one, extremely powerful weapon. Oh, I forgot to do one thing in my menu. So yeah, you get one of the most powerful weapons in the game, but the game's also functionally a lot more difficult. Say, excuse you, run away, please. I've got things to do. But the US version is easier, but it lacks those really powerful weapons. Now let's do the thing that I forgot. There we go. And that is the last time I'll be in the formation menu for the rest of the game. Okay. Something's not right, which means boss fight! Now, the reason why the PAL version is theoretically the fastest, and I say theoretically because you always have the differences between playing a PAL game at 50 Hz versus playing an NTSC game at 60 Hz, is because the PAL version, if I recall, has both the easier difficulty of the US version, and it has the more powerful weapons of the Japanese version. Which, I'm not salty about. No, I'm not salty. Is it Megalith? Yes, it's Megalith, okay. Oh, wait, no. Okay. That is an example of when Scarlet misclicks something. I forgot that I need to make sure that I cast Fortify Intelligence on Koudelka with both James and Edward before I have her attack. I forgot to do that, but it's fine. I've got the mono to make up for the difference. It just means that I might... Yeah, it just means that I'm going to have to hit him 3 times instead of 2. Now, James' job for most of the game is to just be the guy whose turn you skip. He becomes a little bit more useful later on, but for the most part, it is the Koudelka and Edward show. And by Koudelka and Edward show, I mean it's the Koudelka show. She has the base stats that are the most powerful for maging, for casting magic. This is... Oh, I forgot to equip the ring. That's what I forgot to do. I was wondering why I wasn't doing enough damage. So yeah, in speedrunning Koudelka, there's a lot you have to remember. So because I didn't equip the ring that I got in a previous fight, that's the reason why this fight's gonna take a little bit longer. But it's fine. I have my character set up so they're safe. Because this monster has about 3,000 HP. Yeah. Ugh. So James's job for at least the most of the early game is literally just keeping Edward alive. That is his job. Because one downside to the stat system in this game is the 2 stats that you have, the one that makes you take less physical damage, which is Vitality, and the one that makes you take less magical damage, which is Piety. They also work for healing. So if you have a character who will always have high Piety, Koudelka, Koudelka can functionally not be healed by the heal spell unless she herself is casting it, and even then she's not going to heal for necessarily that much. Which is annoying. But it just means that you need to make real sure that you keep Edward alive. And because James doesn't have anything better to do, we just put him on healing duty. Especially in times like this when I forgot to equip an item. Okay, should only take one more hit. Oh, the bunnies are hiding. Is this enough? There we go. Cool. So I did lose literally about 2.5 minutes on that because I forgot to equip that item. So let this be a lesson, chat. Do not forget to equip things when you're playing a RPG that very much requires you to remember things. Normally I wouldn't pump that much vitality into James, but again, just gotta play in the game safe. And don't worry if you're looking at Koudelka's HP and going, wait a minute. Don't worry about it, she'll be getting some more HP soon enough. Now, one thing to always remember, you need to make sure that you pick up the bowgun arrows and the bowgun in this room, because if you don't, you're going to have a very bad time in a minute. Because there is a boss coming up called Elias, which is, I'm not joking here, probably I have not equipped the ring yet, I'm waiting. I'm going to have to do a menu in a minute anyway, so I'm just going to wait for that. There's a boss coming up called Elias, which is probably the scariest potential boss in this game. But we are almost getting to a section where I'm going to do a little bit of grinding. Now, if you get lucky and in your stats, you don't really have to do much grinding. You maybe only have to do one fight or no fight if you want to risk that. But again, because this is a marathon run, we are going to be doing some grinding. Just for safety's sake. I'm going to pick this up because I need it. And I'm going to pick this up. And then we're going to do some circles. So when I mentioned that there is one room in this game where you don't skip the random fights, this is one of them.
So while you start your grind, I've noticed that the reactions that people have had to this game really fall into two camps. One of them is, this game looks super cool. Mm-hmm. And the other one is, this game is super cool. I loved it, and nobody else knows this game when I talk about it. But I think both of those groups of people probably would enjoy learning how to speedrun this game. Where could I go to learn how to speedrun this game?
Well, you can go to my stream. Also, I didn't mean to run away there. Before I finish answering that question, one thing that can happen, because it is objectively faster to use the escape command in a boss fight than using the wait command. Sometimes you fat finger it just like I did. And you accidentally run away from a fight you don't mean to run away from, because you can't run away from boss fights, but you can run away from random fights. This is good, though. This is the fight that we want. We want this fight, because we want to get a chainmail off of this little armor dude. Now, one thing that I joke, and I forgot to do, is I just take my hand off of the controller during these random fights specifically, just so I don't accidentally run away from them, and I forgot to. But, to answer your question, I speedrun this game. I've been speedrunning this game for a while. There is also I don't know if he has a Twitch stream, but there is a person called Reverb, Reverv, They are the person who has done most of the early game route changes recently and is currently the world record holder. I would love to get world record in this game, but I have a full-time job and don't have time to grind this game as much as I'd like to. But you can come follow me at twitch.tv/MissScarletTanager if you would like to get a look at this game or some other spooky games, because I also play some Resident Evils. I'll be playing Resident Evil Gaiden tomorrow for Fright Fatales, so there's that as well. Hello, Mr. Man with the glass in your chest. Please do not kill me. So yeah, all Edward is in this game is a meat shield for functionally the entire game, except maybe a little bit to the end if you're feeling spicy. You just pump all of his upgrade points into just vitality. Can I kill him with one hit? I think he's close. Yep, I was right. Okay. All right, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for a chainmail. I want a chainmail. Give me a chainmail game. Okay, we're in business. First time, every try. Okay. Now that I have that, I don't have to worry about Koudelka anymore, which is kind of great. Because there is a section of the game. Now, theoretically, I could grind there for a little bit longer to be a little bit more safer, but once you have a chainmail, you don't need to. You really don't. You want a chainmail on Koudelka because there will be a point in the game coming up where she is on her own. Entirely on her own. And if you do not have a chainmail on her, you're going to have a bad time. Or at least you're going to have a difficult time. Let's see here. It's Tornado I want to use on this guy. Yeah. And the effect of the chainmail is it just gives, yeah, that's less than I wanted her to have. Yeah, I'm just not getting good luck on these. You want her to have some vitality. You can get away with giving her vitality using the level up system, but the more level ups you put into vitality for Koudelka, the less powerful her magic will be. And I'm already getting, less than ideal RNG for her combat abilities, so... Oh, I know why, I forgot to equip the mace. There's always something. There's always something. This is what happens when I'm trying to explain the run as I'm doing it. I forgot to equip the mace on her. That's why I'm doing so poorly. You want to equip the mace on her because it's the best weapon that you will always get. Now, theoretically, the best weapon that she could get is the cat's eye. There we go. And the best weapon she could get is the cat's eye, but you don't always get that, so you can't rely on it. So remember that I did about 800 damage last time. And just equipping the mace, I did another 300 more. 200 or 300 more. So, sometimes it'd be like that. But yes, because of the section of the game when Koudelka is on her own, you need to make sure she has bare minimum 800 HP. That is the absolute minimum I've ever gotten through the section where she's on her own with. It's still not ideal, because not only is Koudelka on her own for that section of the game, she is both on her own, and you have to do a boss fight with just her. And because of the fact that she is kind of a little bit of a glass cannon and can't take damage, it doesn't end well. Okay. And again, just for safety purposes, I'm gonna pop a save here. Mostly because the next fight that is coming up is the Elias fight that I mentioned earlier. Now, this entire time we've been relying on magic. Magic is incredibly overpowered in this game, especially if you know what you're doing with when to use stat bonuses, etc. Now, the downside? This next boss, Elias, is immune to magic. He's the only enemy in the game that is entirely immune to magic. Now, you need to make sure you pick up this little bit of pixels here or you can't finish the game. That happens twice. Pick up the tiny... Game, why are you like this? Pick up the tiny pixels or else. Oh, it's the black cat. This is one of the two very rare fights that I was talking about. So, look away now, chat. It's just look away now. Okay, it's safe to look in hand. Now, I've only ever gotten a cat's eye once off of this random fight. So see if I get lucky. Nope. It is a relatively rare drop, the cat's eye weapon. But if you do get it, it's pretty much a free PB. Which is the reason why, if you get into a black cat fight, you have to take that fight. Alright, so here's Elias, the only enemy in the game that is entirely immune to magic. Now, one good thing about him... one good thing about Elias is that he is always going to attack... Okay, I don't need that. There we go. He's always going to attack in a definite pattern. You will always attack Koudelka, then Edward, then James. Now, because of the fact that he attacks in that definite pattern, you can sort of game the system in order to make sure that all of your characters survive. See, now he's hit Edward. Now, the reason I'm not attacking... Whoops, I didn't... Sometimes that happens. You accidentally skip the round of the person you want. Is because you can't actually attack Elias. You can't attack the boss until both of those little barricades are gone. So you have to take out the barricades before you can take out the boss. And because he can only take damage from physical attacks, this is Edward's time to shine, you guys. This is Edward's time to shine. Okay. Downside is whenever you're using a bowgun, you have to reload every turn. So I see mentioned in the chat that, is there any decent RNG manip for this game, or is there just not enough interest skill in the community to dive into that? There is a little bit that's been done by Reverb recently. And I say a little bit because this game uses a step counter system, you can force encounters in specific rooms, and you will see me do that a couple rooms from here. But beyond that, not so much. Because the downside, well, a potential upside is you can, in some areas, you can force encounters in rooms that have the chance of spawning the Mars enemy or spawning the Black Cat enemy. So if you have the opportunity to step in such a way that you have an encounter in one of those rooms instead of one of the rooms where getting into a fight with those enemies is not possible, it is always better to try and force the encounter in those rooms. Or if you know you're going to get a fight in the next room, but not the previous room, and the previous room has those potential encounters, you're going to want to just run around in the previous room. Oh, James is dead. That's fine. But beyond that, not so much. Now, just for the sake of safety, I'm going to revive him. Oh, but that also brings up a good point. So one thing to remember about Koudelka is this little, like, strategy grid system that I'm on. when an ally dies, and an enemy moves past them, so if an enemy walks past or equal to the level of the character who dies, you can no longer resurrect them. You cannot go past enemies. So in the horizontal line of the like strategy game field, you cannot go past enemies. Enemies cannot go past you unless the character is dead. And if the character is dead and the enemy goes past them, you can no longer revive them. Oh, well, isn't that lucky? Nah, he knows he's one hit from death. So he's just coming up to say hi to Edward. Oop. Wrong button. And this should be good. There we go. Done so. All right, and we're going to talk to the pixels to have a cutscene. But we skip the cutscene because cutscenes are slow. Even though, again, I love these cutscenes so much. This game is so well done. I would say I definitely recommend everybody go out and play this game, but you would know why I can't recommend that if you've ever looked at this game on eBay. Thankfully, I actually didn't pay for my copy. It was from a friend of mine when I was in high school, so I got lucky there. All right, now we're back way at the beginning of the game. So the area, this is way back in the beginning of the game. So where I had that little cutscene, you might have seen it in like the 2 seconds before I skipped the cutscene, of like the little like homely looking dude and wife trio eating a lovely meal around a table. Yeah, we're going back to that room because we finally have the key for that room. I found a secret item. So the reason why I picked that up is mostly for safety. You don't necessarily have to, but it's a good idea to do so because everything is so randomized in this game. You can never 100% be sure that you're going to get enough accessory items for your mages. And that's what I just picked up. I picked up an extra accessory. And the mask that I just picked up there is something I really wish you could get earlier in the game. It halves your encounter rate, so we have to worry much less about random fights. Except for the one I'm getting into right now. Oh no! Furniture! It's so scary. Okay. So now I just have to run all the way back to where I got the bow gun. So this is going to be a quite bit of backtracking. Okay. Now, I take this room in particular in a very specific line because I don't want to switch the camera transition. But it's just a little bit of tech because it can take an extra second to switch the camera angles. Now, just because I have forgotten this before, I'm grabbing this here. Usually I grab it on the way back, but it would not be the first time I've forgotten it. For some reason, you can't get that the first time you're going through the room. So this little pile of pixels here is actually a door. Wow, I actually managed to get through there without getting into a fight. That doesn't happen very often. Now, the game won't let you leave this room until you look at this random pile of pixels. It's like, oh, there might be something else you need in this room. It's like, I already know the solution to the puzzle, just let me do it. Oh no! Giant bugs. Now, I really, really like the enemy designs in this game because they are properly body horror grotesque for the most part, except for just these random bugs. They're just big bugs. So I guess if you're scared of bugs, it can be spoopy, but... So yeah, now we have to run all the way back to where we fought Elias. There are a few times in this game, now and on disc 4? No, the end of disc 3 for something you do on disc 4 that require quite a bit of backtracking. Camera angles! Okay. There's Elias. He's just taking a nap. Don't worry about him. All right, time for a puzzle. And by a puzzle, I mean I know what the answer is, but sometimes you step on the wrong pixel. There we go. You have to step on those plates in a specific way. Gib. Ooh, I normally don't get into a fight until the next room. So I know for a fact that in this specific room of the game, you can get into a fight with that Mars enemy. Bad RNG, we didn't get it. Koudelka's brain's having a hard time, but she's fine. Koudelka, excuse you, pick up the shard. Alright, all the statues I've been picking up, they're in this store. If you didn't pick those up along the way, you're gonna have to go hunt and find them. Alright, boss fight. So this particular enemy is called Chimera, and Chimera is weak to water, so we're just gonna throw water at Chimera. Now this is actually the first time I test James. Normally he can't really do much yet because I haven't equipped him with anything, but it just gives me a sense of like what kind of damage he can do. Someone in chat says, do you plan to fight that overpowered gargoyle? Absolutely not. We are doing any percent. There is a category called, I believe it's just called all bosses. Yeah, James can't do anything yet. Okay. There's a category called all bosses. We don't do all bosses. We're not doing all bosses. For those who don't know, there is a super boss in this game called Gargoyle, and we will see Gargoyle, because Gargoyle does appear in the normal game. But you don't fight him, you run away. Because if you don't run away, especially at that point in the game, he will take you out. Especially because at that point in the game, you only have Koudelka. Wibble wobble, wibble wobble, wibble wobble. It's ferocious. Hello, Garrus. Oh, now he's coming to say hi to me. And I believe this should be enough. Yeah. Okay. So now we're getting to the point of the game where Koudelka turns into a massive glass cannon. Which is great. We stan a glass cannon. Okay, now for some reason, you have to go in this corner. The cutscene that you need in order to progress the game is in that corner. Now, just for safety's sake, we'll pop another save. Mostly because we're going to be going into the section of the game where you play as Koudelka on her own. In just a moment here, we are actually towards the end of Disc 2. And yes, this is a 4-disc game. You can beat a 4-disc game in 2 hours. All right, so I picked up that stone tablet earlier in the game. What we're going to do is we're going to put it on this little press. And for some reason, getting the little map thing off of that press causes the wall to explode. Don't ask me, I don't get it either. Let's pick up this disc. I'll pick up these just for safety. And I'll go through the door. Okay. All we need in this room is this pile of pixels. Game. I haven't gotten into a random fight in a while. This is kind of weird. So now we're going to meet probably the best character in this game. But the problem is none of you guys are going to get to see him because he only ever appears in cutscenes. Okay, so the music box I picked up earlier is play a tune. So you have to hit the button on the ground in a specific order. Come on. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can step on things, it's fine. Okay, time for cutscenes. We're skipping the cutscenes that introduce a character called Roger Bacon, who is a real person. Who was a real life person, and they turned him into a immortal mummy Obi-Wan type figure in this game. I don't know why either. Okay, we are actually almost at the end of Disc 2. Okay. Sometimes the controls get away from you because of where is up and down. This game doesn't use tank controls, but it definitely is slightly weird to control sometimes. Okay, all those glass shards I've been picking up this whole time? Yeah, that's why I put them in. Now, for those who know this game, there is a ghost called Charlotte. She's a little girl ghost that we have seen in the game already, but, I mean, I skipped cutscenes, so we haven't actually seen her. There are two... Well, there's two endings to this game, but there's also two distinct endings for the Ghost Charlotte that you can get independent of which ending you get. Now, well, I guess there's technically three endings to the game, but whatever. One of them's a game over. We get the ending for the Ghost Charlotte that's considered Charlotte's bad ending, because it is one, faster, and two, I almost managed to get out of here without getting into a fight. And two, you get a much more powerful equipable item if you get the bad ending for that character. So I'll talk more about that when we get to that part, but it will involve us having to do 2 boss fights in a row instead of just 1. But that little code that you saw when I put the glass shards into the wall, that is something that you would use in a place of the library in order to get some letters, in order to get the good ending for the character, for the ghostie. Now this is Gargoyle, who's the super boss of the game. We're running. we don't want anything to do with this thing. That is the only time you will see the game's super boss. We will never go into the cathedral again. Now technically you can fight Gargoyle at any time. And now we are on disc 3. Alright, so we are at the point of the game when Koudelka is entirely on her own. Which is scary. Now, something that we have been collecting the entire game from different boss fights are things called icon items. So we have the icon's crown, the icon's earrings, the icon necklace, and I think there was something else, icon bracelet. Now, as Koudelka in this part of the game, the point is to put the icon items on the icon statues in order to go onwards. Now, there's one thing very, very, very important to remember. In the intro cutscene, the intro FMV of this... excuse you. Koudelka? Stairs? Koudelka. There we go. In the intro cutscene of this game, Koudelka is scaling the walls of the monastery. And as she's scaling it, a necklace falls off of her on accident. That is called Koudelka's pendant. If you do not pick up Koudelka's pendant in this area after turning off that waterfall by putting these icon items onto the statues, you cannot beat the game. If you have not picked up Koudelka's pendant by the time you reach the point of no return, the game is not completable. Theoretically. Now, apparently, if you do not have Koudelka's pendant at the end game, you can pick it up in a random fight in the areas before the final boss. Now, this is the pendant right here. If you do not pick that up, it's dead run. Because you do not have enough time to grind out the last room of the game for fights in order to try and get it as a random draw. But that pendant is an actual requirement. If you do not have that pendant at the end of the game, you will get the game over ending, quote unquote. The bad ending is... Somebody in the chat is commenting about the bad ending of this game. Yes, I would definitely say look it up on YouTube. It is pretty great if you haven't seen it. Okay. Yes, okay. Yes, we're good. Okay. Just doing some management there. Yeah, don't worry about don't worry about all the strawberry jam, it's fine. That suddenly appeared in that room. So what happened in that cutscene is that Koudelka got captured by the bad guys, and shenanigans happened, and now we don't have to worry about the bad guys anymore. At least those ones. So in this cutscene, Koudelka manages to find James and Edward, but they're on the other side of a wall that won't open, so they make a plan to go meet each other in the library area. All right. I'm actually going to do a temporary save here. Because this boss fight is, not counting the Elias fight, probably the scariest one. I know I keep saying that every one of them is the scariest one, but... This one's just scary because Koudelka is on her own. Yeah, I'm going to focus a little bit here. I did play it safe, but... Okay, just tornado I want to use on this guy. Because I need to make sure that I keep an eye on Koudelka's HP. Because this guy has 5,000 HP of his own, and his physical attacks can do quite a bit of damage. Sometimes. Now, it only looked like it did 200 damage to Koudelka, but you have to remember that Koudelka's one on her own. So healing her is a little bit dicey. Oh, and then I do things like that. And I accidentally punch him. Okay. Yeah, I've done that in this fight before. It's a relatively common misclick you can do. Because the game will default to the regular attack, physical attack instead of magic. Nope, not gonna do that again. That's always preferable if the giant, which is this guy's name, I'm pretty sure is Giant, uses magic. Because if he just keeps hitting you with physical attacks, it can get scary. So yeah, that is the boss. And we just have to run through a whole bunch of rooms hoping we don't get into any fights. Gosh, I knew I was going to get into one. I was overdue. Someone in the chat says, is this the part where Koudelka goes solo yet? Yes, I'm currently solo. Or Koudelka is currently solo. Alright. So you need to make sure you remember to pick up this doll or you're gonna have a bad time later. Alright. So you pray at the grave and then triggers a cutscene, skip a cutscene. So one thing to remember, I mentioned earlier that if you were playing the PAL version or the Japanese version of the game, there is more powerful weapons that you can get in the game that make it much easier, especially for mages. That was where one of them was. There is, if you're playing the PAL version of the Japanese version, there is an item called St. Daniel's Cross that's behind that. I don't know why they removed it in the English version of the game, or the North American version. That is a door, Koudelka. Please go through it. Sometimes she just doesn't like to use doors. All right, we now have our party back. So here's another moment of the game where you have to do a big backtrack. And I mean big backtrack. We are going all the way back to not quite the beginning of the game, but we're going back fair ways. So someone's talking about the game Shadow Hearts in the chat. Yes, this is the prequel to the Shadow Hearts games. Koudelka is in Shadow Hearts 1 as a side character. A very important side character, but a side character nonetheless. Am I gonna get another black cat? Oh, okay. I think this is the first time I've ever gotten 2 black cats in a run. Well, you know what that means, chat. Okay, it's safe to look back at the screen now. I'm not gonna get it. Calling it now. Oh my god! Let's go! Okay. Koudelka just became OP. Oh, right, I forgot, actually. This is also the point in the game where we make a certain person actually useful. There we go. Now James can be useful. I think that's only the second time I've ever actually gotten the cat's eye. All right. So now is probably as good a time as any to take a break, because I'm about to get to a rather important boss fight in a moment here, and I'm just literally running to it. So if you guys want to take a break now, that'd be a good time.
Alrighty, you heard her, chat. Now's a great time to stand up, stretch your legs, get a drink of water. We've got the second half of this run coming up, and we will be back pretty shortly here, so stick with us. And we are back. I hope you're all ready for some more Koudelka, but first I'm just gonna rapid fire through some announcements for everybody who showed up since we started. AGDQ 2023 Online is gonna be January 8th through the 15th. Head on over to gamesdonequick.com for more info on that. The games list for the first submission period comes out today. Everybody's excited for it, so just keep watching that site, and we're going to get to find out who got in. I'm excited. Just about everybody that I know is excited, and I hope that you're all excited for it as well. The second submission period for games released after September 1st of this year is coming up. That's going to be November 6th through the 12th. So if you have anything that you want to submit for games that are really, really recently released, get those submissions ready, because that's going to be coming up pretty soon. Make sure that you're watching gamesdonequick.com for details on that. Fright Fatales is a one-day event starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, same time that this show starts. It's real easy to remember. It's going to celebrate spooky season. It's October. It's getting a little bit chilly out. It's spooky. So we've got a bunch of spooky games to celebrate that. Dark, scary, horror-themed speedruns, all from the Frame Fatales community. Use !Fright in Twitch chat to see the schedule on that. October 31st, Halloween. We've got a Halloween spooktacular. It's going to be hosted by Ecdysis and Smooth Operative. It's going to be great. You're going to want to be there. I'm looking forward to it. We've had a bunch of subs and cheers and gift subs so far in the chat. Thank you all so much for those. Subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered in the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick, both with hotfix content and with the costs for AGDQ 2023 Online. So please consider subscribing if you're enjoying the daily GDQ content. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and then also come on over to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you would like to just watch this live. It's super fun. You get to see things right when they happen. Most weekdays, we're going to be starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Weekends, we tend to start at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, finally, hey, Scarlett, you just got a cat's eye. How about that?
I did indeed get a cat's eye.
Show us why it's broken. I want to see why this item's broken.
Alrighty. So first, the two dolls that I picked up in the game, Vilna and Wagner. I just used them on that doll. You can't get through this door if you don't. Now we are about to go to the fight against Charlotte. It is a back-to-back boss fight. First against some spoopy furniture, and then against Charlotte herself. Charlotte is the little ghost girl that is super spoopy, but because we didn't do some of the extra things that you can do in the game, we are not going to save her, which would let us skip the fight. Alright, so let's see which... Oh dear, it's been a while since I've done this fight. Right, water. That's what I want. Because each one of the chair is weak to water, the wardrobe is weak to earth. Don't ask me why. Okay. Well, that wasn't very nice. But that was also not very nice. Okay. The power of the cat's eye? Yeah, I just did 4,000 damage. That is the power of cat's eye. The power of cat's eye is I just did 4,000 damage. Versus James's 1,500. Oh. I should use Megalith on the other guy. Yeah, it's over. It's so overpowered. I love it. Alright, you know what? Where's my bow gun? There it is. Yep, no. Technically the chair should be dead. I think it only has like 10 HP right now, because I definitely did enough damage to it. But apparently they just don't like me today. Yeah, that's what I thought. They both have like 10 damage. Yeah, just a 4,200 damage with the Koudelka. Now, when you saw me equip the cat's eye, technically the cat's eye brought down my intelligence stat, which is the stat for magic damage, by 1, but it boosted everything else so much. Alright, there's Charlotte. Now it's time to fight her. Thankfully, you don't really have to worry about Charlotte coming towards you. It's water. Yeah. So all we're going to do is we're just going to pummel Charlotte with geysers. And this fight should go by fairly quickly, even though Charlotte does have very high magic defense. I'm still doing 2,000 damage. Usually I'm doing about 1,000 per character. Well, that wasn't very nice. So for... yeah, James is kind of useless. Okay. Good to know. Now I want to keep Koudelka forward in order to maximize the damage that she does. I love the music in this game so much. Alright, should only take literally one more. Just like with the previous fight, she has about 10 HP right now. Like, not even joking. She only has like 2 hit points. Because this enemy only has 4,600 health, and both of my attacks with Koudelka did 2k. Sometimes the game be like that. And that is Charlotte. Now, I have theorized that it might theoretically be possible to save Charlotte and it be faster. I just haven't tried it yet, if that makes sense. Alright, just pumping him full of vitality. Because trust me, he gonna need it. Alright, we got the Star Brooch. So this is the item that makes Koudelka even more powerful, because she's not powerful enough already. Yeah, I want the air badge. Okay. Right, now that we have done that, and we have taken out the little ghosty girl, we're actually in the last-ish area of the game. I say last-ish. Alright. So we're gonna go directly into another boss fight, by the way. This game is just run from boss fight to boss fight to boss fight. Okay. You know what is kind of funny about the fact that I got a cat's eye item in this run? This is the third time I have run Koudelka for a hotfix show. And in every hotfix show, I have managed to get into a fight with the black cat. This is the first time I've actually gotten the cat's eye. Alright, the gramophone thing that we picked up ages ago, we use that here. A lot of this game is just remembering where the key items are and getting them, because if you don't get them the first time you come across them, it can be an absolute pain to backtrack. Alrighty. New boss fight. This is Jezebel. Jezebel! We're just gonna set Jezebel on fire. Because look at that. That is definitely something that really needs to get set on fire. Now, one thing that I do in this fight in particular, because this is the first fight that's 3,000 or 9,000 HP, I'm actually going to be keeping track of the HP. So the way I do it is I consider that 1,600 to be 1.6, and I'm trying to get to 9, because that math is easier for my brain to do. Ow! Just leave Edward alone! It's okay, he can take it. He has enough vitality at this point. 1.6, and that's just 200, so that's 1.8. Wow, be useful, James. At least we have Koudelka to keep up the slack. Okay, we're 1.8. I'm gonna functionally call that 2, so that'd be 3.6. Yeah, 3.6 is what I'm at. Okay. Ow! My meat shield is not doing so hot. I'm gonna call that 5.6. 5.8. I'm gonna call that 6 even. Okay, I'm gonna call that 8. So one more hit from Koudelka should do it. And because of that, I'm going to skip James's turn when it comes up. Because there's not much point in having him cast anything, since he can't do damage yet. At least not very well. Aw, there's a bunny loafing in my camera. Okay. Sometimes it just doesn't like to take your button inputs. And if my counting was correct, hey, there's Jezebel. More HP for him. Why not? Okay, now that we've taken out Jezebel, time to have a cutscene. Because some of these boss fights, the only point to them is that they trigger cutscenes. Okay. Oh, wait, no, not here. I want to go here. Right. Okay. Koudelka, that's a thing. Climb on it, please. Thank you. Sometimes Koudelka just doesn't like to obey your button prompts. There we go. Okay. So there's a hidden button up here, and we're going to press it. Because now it's time to have 2 cutscenes. So we found Roger Bacon, who is my favorite character, and the character that we're still not going to get to see. Sad day. He is a little gremlin man, and I love him. But we had a cutscene with him. We're going to leave the room, and we're going to immediately turn around and go back in the room. Because there's actually 2 cutscenes you need to have in there. One of them is only triggered when you have the research notes, which I picked up when I used the big gramophone disc just before the Jezebel fight. And you need to trigger both cutscenes in order to sort of open up the really last area of the game, being the chapel area. Okay, I'm going to look at this for reasons. All right, so now we're going to pick up this bottle. So now that I have that bottle, we're going to have to do probably the longest backtrack of the entire game. So if anybody has any questions for me about this game or about horror speedrunning in general, now's the time to give me them. Because this is a very, very long backtrack. We have to backtrack all the way back to the Madon boss fight, which is a fair ways from here. Game? Thank you.
Here's a question for you. Is there anything about horror speedrunning specifically that appeals to you?
Well, I love horror games. I was raised on them. So I was born in 1992. Let's pick up this. Okay. I was born in 1992, and my half-sister is 7 years older than me. And she was very much into games. My father, very much into games. One of these days I'm going to learn the Metal Gear Solid games just in honor of my dad, because they were his favorite. And because of that, I was kind of donezo from the start to being a gamer. Literally the only person in my house growing up who wasn't a hardcore gamer was my mother, who hated games. But my sister, who being so much older than me, she was able to, get those spicier games when I was younger. So if I recall, the original Resident Evil came out in 1996, I believe. So I was about 4. And I have distinct memories of watching my sister and my dad playing Resident Evil when it was first released all the way back in the 90s and being absolutely terrified. And I was scared of it for the longest time. But I was also like, this seems like fun. And then I got to watch my sister play Parasite Eve, which also scared the bejeebus out of me as a kid. So essentially, I got scared so much as a kid. Oh, whoops. That's the wrong one. 2, 5. There we go. I got scared so much as a kid that I ended up retroactively trauma bonding to my horror games. But in terms of speedrunning them, one of the reasons why I like speedrunning horror games so much is, hold on, I'm gonna do this real quick. There we go. One of the reasons why I like speedrunning horror games so much is they're just fun. And when you were so scared of a game as a kid, there is something to be said about sort of facing your fears via beating the bejeebus out of something that scared you so much as a kid. So the reason why I'm running around in this room is I'm going to attempt to get an item called Scroll, because the next room after this has the boss fight against the boss called Apostle. We don't like Apostle. Nobody in the Koudelka community likes this boss. Because Apostle is immune. Not only is he immune to all damage, but he absorbs all damage except when he is in a specific idling animation. The problem is his casting animation supersedes that idle animation, so it can be. Sometimes it can almost feel like it's random whether or not the damage that you do to him he will either absorb or take. So ideally, you want to have a scroll going into this fight, but there's only very specific areas, and it's very, very random whether or not you're going to get a scroll. So I'm only going to try it maybe 1 or 2 more times before we just do the fight normally. So that's what I meant when I said earlier that this fight can either take 30 seconds or 10 minutes. There it is. Okay. So the one on the right there, that is Mars. I need to be very careful not to run from this fight. Oh, that's the wrong button. Okay. So not only do you want to get into a fight with the Mars enemy, you need to hope he drops a scroll. And then you need to hope that he drops not an air scroll, because not only is Apostle the biggest wisdom tooth in this game for a boss, he is also immune to air magic. So if you happen to get lucky and the Mars enemy drops a scroll upon defeat, and that scroll is an air scroll, it is functionally useless. So as much as I love this game, it can be a bit of an RNG nightmare at times. Oh, whoops, I meant to actually attack with you. Might as well get the HP or the XP points while I'm here. Somebody asked in the chat how you're supposed to defeat Apostle then. When you've played this game enough times and you've run it enough times, you do kind of have an easier time telling when you are able to attack Apostle and when you are not, but most of the fight is going to be just me skipping turns while I'm waiting for an opportunity to attack Apostle. Oh, he's still alive. Okay, fine, be that way. But Apostle is definitely one of the biggest reasons why there's such a discrepancy between runs on the leaderboard. It's whether or not you had a scroll or not. Okay, fine. We'll do it the hard way. I didn't want to because it's going to cause me to lose time. But we're going to do Apostle the hard way. Yeah, because I didn't get lucky. I did not, in fact, get a scroll. So we're going to have to do this the hard way. Okay, this animation that Apostle is in right now, that is the correct idle animation. And I'm also going to be counting HP, so that was 1.4. The problem is, this animation he's in right now, this animation is the animation I cannot attack. If I attack him right now, he will absorb all damage. But the problem is, this is his casting animation, and I don't know if he's still in that idle animation or not, because that idle animation is being covered by his casting animation. So see, if I'd had James attack him there, he would have healed. Yes, he is currently still in that animation, so I cannot attack him. So I'm just skipping turns. Escape, please. And the reason that I put Edward specifically where I did is because it forces Apostle to just use this one attack. Oh, come on! Give me a break here, Apostle! This is a marathon. Can't you be nice for once, please? I think in all 3 times that I played this for GDQ hotfix, I don't think I've had a scroll any time. I think maybe one of them I had a scroll. Oh, wait, I can actually attack him. Okay, so it was 1.4, did I say? Yeah, so that's another 1.4, so that's 2.8. Okay. This is risky. Oh! I might have screwed it up. Okay, then. Okay, it's 2.8, that's 4.2. I got lucky there. Because he could have, when he starts casting, that is a moment when he can switch between his modes. And if he had switched to the damage absorbing mode there, I would have healed him for 1,400. What was I at? 4.2? Something like that. Okay. So he is safe to attack now because he stopped doing his wibble wobble. And he's not in the casting animation, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so it should only take one more. If I can get one more hit on him. I believe. 1, maybe 2, but I'm pretty sure it's 1. But it's up to the game when it's going to allow me to do that. I'm trying to focus because I'm keeping my eyes on him because I'm trying to see when he's in that animation. Because one thing that's a downside is sometimes you can mistake his normal animation, which is when you can attack, with his casting animation because they're different, but they're not that different. Okay, somebody in the chat forgot to ask, is pressing escape faster than selecting wait? It is. I think it messes with the turn order, though I'm not entirely sure because you can't actually see the turn order. Okay, that's gonna take me one more hit. And also just button press Y, that's faster. Oh, I probably could have hit him there. I just healed him! So that's what I meant by if you're not really careful, and sometimes even if you are careful, you can accidentally heal him. Because there was no way to tell. It looked like he was in the correct animation, and he was in the correct animation, but before Koudelka's attack went off, he switched animations, and you couldn't see it because he was casting. Yeah, now it's going to take another 2 hits. Because it's time loss because you healed him, and it's time loss because you're going to have to hit him again. This boss is such a wisdom tooth. Which is why you definitely want to make... Yeah. You want to make real sure that he's using the correct animation. Okay. Don't do me like this! Apostle, this is a marathon run, can you not? Okay. There he goes, there's Apostle, you guys. The literal worst part of this game. The upside is that you get just ridiculous amounts of XP from this fight. I'm actually going to start pouring points into strength now because you don't need that much. Okay. So we're going to equip the crossbow. Actually... Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, and we are at disc 4. Last disc of the game, y'all. At least we will be in a second here. And done. Alrighty. So that bottle with the acid that I got earlier, at this point in the storyline, you have found out that James is not just a priest man trying to put the fear in God into this heathen demon monastery. No, he was actually sent by the Vatican to retrieve a specific item called the Emerge document. And it has the powers of black magic and bringing people back from the dead. And they need to get into that room that I was just at. They need to get through that door, but they can't because it's just too heavy. It's too locked. They can't get into the monastery in order to take care of the abomination that accidentally got brought back using this ancient document. So what are they going to do? Turns out, Priestman James is a crack chemist, and he uses that acid to make nitroglycerin. So for some reason, he has the skills necessary to create nitroglycerin out of that bottle of acid. Yeah, he made dynamite, and we're going to blow up the wall. Which is all kinds of fun. That's a door, Koudelka. Yeah, sometimes you can be just mashing the X button, and Koudelka just decides not to go through the door until she feels like it. Okay. So we just blew a hole into the chapel. Again, if you haven't seen the cutscenes for this game, find them on YouTube or something, because this game's so great. I love it. I love this game. It's so well done. Ooh, spoopy plants! So, in some of the story of this game, the person who owned the monastery, Patrick, his wife was sadly unalived during a break-in, and he managed to pay somebody to sneak into the Vatican to steal this super secret black magic document, and he tried to bring his wife back. What happened was, it killed him, it killed everybody in the monastery, turned everyone into demons, and it created a giant plant in the middle of the monastery that his wife's body is currently inside. possessed by, of course, a demon. And that's going to be our final fight in the game. So good painting. So someone in the chat is asking if this game is like Parasite Eve. Yes, I did bring that up early in the run. The only games that I would call horror JRPGs are Parasite Eve, Koudelka, and Shadow Hearts. Though Shadow Hearts is technically part of the Koudelka series. This game came first, therefore I consider it the Koudelka series. Stairs, Koudelka? Someone is asking what I'm playing this on. I am playing it on a North American PS2. All right, so that arm that I picked up just ages ago, like an hour ago, that just severed arm I picked up, yeah, we just threw that into the cauldron. Because apparently it for somehow caused the entire thing to blow up. Because that was the special bring my dead wife back to life cauldron. Okay, now it's time for the headache. These are the roots. Don't pay attention to the music. This is in fact considered a boss fight. But the problem is, these guys can kind of hit like a truck. They can even hit Edward like a truck. So we definitely have to pay attention a touch. Okay. Now each one of these guys has about 5,400 hit points. Except for one in the next fight, which has almost 10,000. I didn't need to actually attack him there, but whatever. Now, the more you use an attack in this game, the more it can level up. This is true for both magic and for weapons. Now, if you notice, there was a 2 next to the spell Flare for Koudelka. That means that the Flare spell leveled up. I think it leveled up in the Apostle fight. Because that spell has leveled up to 2, it takes twice the amount of mana, which is something to keep in mind because it means that Koudelka can run out of mana in the endgame if this spell levels up for you. But it also means it can do this. Now it will attack everybody in a row if they're in a row, which is great for this fight specifically, but it's really the only one it's useful in. Oh, poor James. He tries so hard. He tries so hard, but he's so useless. Okay. We're just gonna skip him because we don't need him. Eee! Ooh, that's not good. Alright, since they're right next to each other, I can just pull a flare. As long as they stay next to each other, it should hit them both, I believe. Yep. Boom. Well, that was very nice. Moving away from me. Oh, hun. Oh, hun. You can't escape. Alright, so that's the first. I'd say it's the first of, it's sort of like an endgame boss rush. So, we have that boss, we have another one, and then we have 1, 2, 3. And I need to make sure that Koudelka has at least 66, agility. Okay. Oh, right. Wait, no, they leveled up. I don't need to. So whenever a character levels up, they get their health and their MP refresh, which is pretty nice. But sometimes I have to remember that I need to actually heal characters after a fight. Koudelka, that's a pair of stairs, thank you. Oh, by the way, we're past the point of no return. I forgot to mention that. Someone mentioned in chat that there's a secret sword for Koudelka. This is true. It is a sword called the Saknoth. So Saknoth is the company that developed this game. They have a sword in the game called Saknoth. We don't really do anything with Saknoth in this because in order to get Saknoth, you have to kill Gargoyle, which is the optional super boss. And on any percent, you don't go anywhere near Gargoyle. Oh, that wasn't very nice. So in this fight, there's the two root enemies. One of them looks like they have a body. That's actually the body of Patrick, the guy who started this whole shenanigans. That particular one can't actually be damaged until you kill the other one, if I recall. Which is why it might look like that it's not taking any damage. It in fact can, it just won't. Oop, almost messed that up. There we go. Okay. I counted my HP right. Yes. I made sure to give my rabbits some hay right before, or not some hay, some lettuce right around here just to entice them and to come say hi to you guys. You need to load up your bowgun. So I did 24 to him. This guy has like 9,000, almost 10,000 HP, just shy of that. So it can take a hot minute to kill him. Nope. Yeah, even with a 90 strength, Edward cannot do much damage. The enemies in this game have very, very high physical defense generally, which is why even though Edward has far too much strength, he can't do much. Just for safety, normally I wouldn't heal Edward, but just for safety's reasons, because he is getting a little low, and the Patrick boss can kind of hit like a truck. Or he can just die. That could happen too, I guess. Okay. So now, chat, are you guys ready for the best song in this game? The absolute, just the best song in this game. It's coming up here in a second. It's gonna take another room or two, but you know. Alright, I'm going to save here because this is the final boss room. This is the head of that super spoopy demon plant that currently has the owner's wife's body inside of it. This game has a very involved storyline, but don't have time for that. It's slow. So I did a save there because that's the last save of the game. Feel a pulse in the plant. Gasp. Now, we're not in the fight just yet, because we're currently running away from the final boss. Don't mind the fact that there's nothing chasing us. That's not how this game works. Okay. Oh no, Elaine caught up with us. By the way, the dead wife is named Elaine. Best music in the game. Alright. So this fight is going to be different than any of the other fights. This one and the next one, because we have to fight her twice. So I'm going to be casting Reflect on James and Koudelka specifically. Now the reason that I'm doing that is even though all of my characters are very overpowered at this point, at least Koudelka is, Elaine has such a high level of damage high level of damage she can absorb, that the best way to take her out is to actually cause her to take herself out. And we do that by doing Reflect. And I'm not even going to bother attacking with Edward in this fight because this particular boss is immune to physical attacks. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wait. And I'm waiting for a specific reason because I'm trying to line up when attacks are. Because the boss cannot be killed by their reflected damage. So I'm waiting for her to start casting, and then I'm going to cast a geyser. Or cast a flare. Wait, what's the flare? Yes, it was flare. Okay. Whew. I almost messed that up again. Because you fight Elaine twice, and in this fight, she is immune to water and earth. In the next fight, she is immune to fire and air. And sometimes I get those flipped. Okay, she's doing her little dancey dance. That means she's low on HP. Okay, that didn't take her out. Darn. If I got lucky, she would have gotten taken out there. But she is poisoned, so there's that. There we go. And there's Elaine. It's been a while since I've had a good Elaine fight. Now again, we have to fight her twice. So, we ain't there yet. Technically, we fight her 3 times, but we're going to lose the final fight on purpose. So, I mentioned that this game has 2 endings. The canon ending has you losing to the final fight. So, the one that goes into Shadow Hearts. I meant to heal there. I'm sure it's fine. But, yeah, this is fine. You're going to do the same thing, the exact same thing you did in the previous fight. Cast Reflect on both James and Koudelka in order to have the enemy absorb damage. Except this time I have to remember I cannot use fire. I need to either use water or earth. Usually I use Geyser, which is the water spell. Hopefully this doesn't kill James, because I forgot to heal him. Oh, that's fine. That just means I have to do a little bit of a backup. And by backup, I mean I have to... Do I have the... I do not. Oh well. Okay, it's fine. It just means that it's going to take a little bit longer. Actually, I can revive him. I've got time. Every time I hear this music, I just want to dance. This is such dancing music. So that's what I get for forgetting to heal James. Because usually James doesn't have high enough agility to get the reflect off before the enemy. I could probably route that in. I just haven't yet. gonna use Geyser. Because don't use Flare. I have messed that up before. Ah, that's unlucky. Sometimes the reflected damage can miss, and if the reflected damage misses, then it's gonna cost you a turn. Especially if it's the one on Koudelka that misses, because the one on Koudelka is better. She's doing the wiggle wiggle, which means she's low on HP. But she also has almost 1200 HP, so. Come on, Elaine. Be nice. This is a marathon. You need to be nice on a marathon. Well, that's less than ideal. The Reflect wore off on Koudelka at the worst possible time. Oh. So I'm not reviving Edward for a reason. If Elaine starts to come up on me, I might revive him just for safety's sake, but in order to, is that enough? Yes, okay. In order to do the final fight as fast as possible, you want to have your characters as low as HP as possible. So the fact that Edward died in that fight is actually a good thing, because he will be revived at 1 HP, because you don't get XP from these fights. That stairs, Koudelka, please. Alrighty, here we go, final fight. It can either take like 10 seconds or it can take like a minute, depending on what attack the boss uses. We want the attack to be used that attacks everybody at once, but that doesn't always happen. So we're gonna do, moving everybody up. Now time is going to be on the final death, so when the final character dies. Okay, there's one. Come on, game. Okay. Casting a spell, please cast the attack all. No. I don't get to have nice things like that. Alright, that's 2. And because you can end the game in the first round if if the enemy uses the correct attack, but I didn't get lucky. And come on, come on. This is the attack I wanted her to use at the beginning of the fight. Time.
Chi.
Did I go over?
You went a couple minutes over, but you also started off with amazingly bad RNG.
Yeah, I had such bad RNG in the beginning. I had good RNG towards the end, but then Apostle was Apostle, and Apostle was terrible. I didn't mean to actually skip the final cutscene. That was an accident. But yeah, that is Koudelka. So in the bad ending, we sadly lose James. James sacrifices himself to take out the boss because you weren't able to during the fight. And that is the canon ending, because that is the ending that goes into Shadow Hearts. So yeah. That is Koudelka, and I hope you guys had a fun time. My name is Miss Scarlet Tanager. You guys can find me over on Twitch at Miss Scarlet Tanager. If you guys like the bunnies, Garrus and Tally over here, they have their own dedicated webcam, and they are very, very cute. But I'm going to have to leave it there because I gotta go run to a meeting.
Thank you so much for showing us Koudelka. Congratulations on finally managing to get a cat's eye in a hotfix run. And just as a reminder, you're going to be running tomorrow as well for a hotfix show, I believe.
I am going to be playing Resident Evil Gaiden, the objectively best Resident Evil game, for Fright Fatales tomorrow. It's going to be pretty great. Not many people have seen Gaiden or know Gaiden or even know that it exists, but it is an officially licensed, it is an official Resident Evil Game Boy Color game. And it's
I'm looking forward to that.
It's pretty great.
All the runs look really great, but yeah, Resident Evil Gaiden is just... It's a game which legally exists, and I'm looking forward to you showing it off.
Gaiden is a game that exists. That's pretty much what you can say about it. Also, it's completely busted. But I will see you all tomorrow.
Thank you so much once again. I'm going to run through our announcements one last time for everybody who just showed up towards the end. AGDQ 2023 Online is going to be January 8th through the 15th. Head on over to gamesdonequick.com for more info on that. The games list is going to be released today. Everybody's excited about it. I'm looking forward to finding out what made it in. The second submission period for games released after September 1st of this year is coming up as well, November 6th through the 12th. So make sure you're watching gamesdonequick.com if you want to be able to submit for really, really recent games that you're speedrunning. Fright Fatales, which you just heard us talking about, is a one-day event starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern to celebrate spooky season. It's going to have dark, horror-themed, scary speedruns from the Frame Fatales community. !Fright in Twitch chat is going to let you see the schedule for that. October 31st, another spooky day, we've got a Halloween Spooktacular hosted by Ecdysis and Smooth Operative. If you want to follow Games Done Quick and everything that's going on in the Games Done Quick universe, as it were, use !links in chat. GDQ at this point has tons of content all over the place, and you're going to want to keep up with it because it's super fun. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and all bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick, both with hotfix content and with AGDQ 2023 online costs. So please consider subscribing if you enjoy content like what you just got to watch today, what you're going to get to be watching more of tomorrow, lots of spooky stuff tomorrow. And finally, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to press the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and come on over to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content. We start weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. One last time, Scarlett, thank you so much. And we are going to be getting set up to raid. I think everybody can probably guess what we're going to be raiding today. Thank you all so much. I hope that you had fun. One last time, thank you so much, Scarlett.
And thank you to the bunnies.
Thank you to the bunnies. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to the real stars of the show.
The bunnies.